Hi, everybody, and welcome back for another chapter of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaja's I Am That. And today we will be looking at chapter 48, Awareness is Free. Awareness is free. Another great title. Awareness is always and already free. So simply realize yourself as that pure awareness which is prior to every thought, feeling, sensation, word, deed. Realize yourself as that pure, silent, still, space-like awareness, the context for all content. Thank you, Nisargadatta. What do you have to say to us today? Coming down here a little bit, Nisargadatta says, the main thing is to be free of negative emotions, desire, fear, etc., the 6 enemies of the mind. Once the mind is free of them, the rest will come easily. Just as cloth kept in soap water will become clean, so will the mind get purified in the stream of pure feeling. When you sit quiet and watch yourself, all kinds of things may come to the surface. Do nothing about them. Don't react to them. As they have come, so will they go all by themselves. All that matters is mindfulness, total awareness of oneself, or rather, of one's mind. By oneself, do you mean the daily self? Yes, the person, which alone is objectively observable. The observer is beyond observation. What is observable is not the real self. I can always observe the observer in endless recession. You can observe the observation, but not the observer. You know you are the ultimate observer by direct insight, not by a logical process based on observation. You are what you are, but you know what you are not. The self is known as being. The not self is known as transient. But in reality, all is in the mind. The observed, observation, and observer are mental constructs. The self alone is. The self alone is. So simple. Why does the mind create all these divisions? To divide and particularize is in the mind's very nature. There is no harm in dividing, but separation goes against fact. Things and people are different, but they are not separate. Nature is one. Reality is one. There are opposites, but no opposition. Another great couple sentences. Things and people are different. Of course, there is variety and difference, but they are not separate. There is no separation anywhere. Nature is one. Reality is one. There are opposites, day, night, hot, cold, but no opposition, no conflict in that reality. They are not separate. I find that by nature I am very active. Here I am advised to avoid activity. The more I try to remain inactive, the greater the urge to do something. This makes me not only active outwardly, but also struggling inwardly to be what by nature I am not. Is there a remedy against longing for work? There is a difference between work and mere activity. Hmm. All nature works. Nature is in constant motion. Work is nature. Nature is work. On the other hand, activity tends to be based on desire and fear, on longing to possess and enjoy, on fear of pain and annihilation. Work is by the whole for the whole. Activity is by oneself for oneself. Lovely. Work is by the whole for the whole. Activity is by oneself for oneself. Is there a remedy against activity? What is the medicine, Nisargadatta? Watch it. Watch activity, and it shall cease. Use every opportunity to remind yourself that you are in bondage, that whatever happens to you is due to the fact of your bodily existence. Desire, fear, trouble, joy, they cannot appear unless you are there to appear too. Yet, whatever happens points to your existence as a perceiving center. A perceiving center. Disregard the pointers and be aware of what they are pointing to. It is quite simple, but it needs to be done. It's simple, but it needs to be done. What matters is the persistence with which you keep on returning to yourself. Keep coming back to awareness, beingness, presence, aliveness, silence and stillness. Keep returning. Keep leaving the mind. Nothing wrong with mind. Mind is an expression of consciousness. But keep leaving that abstract conceptual imagination and come back to the heart of reality, to the beloved, and simply rest as awareness. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to be. Allow yourself to melt. Allow this separate self, seemingly separate self, allow it to die. It sounds extreme, and in some ways it is, but in some ways it's not. You can only lose what you're not. It's not actually real. It's an illusion. Let it fall away. Let it melt and dissolve. And you will see, you will come to see that you are never this pseudo-psychological self. You are not what you think yourself to be. You are not what you imagine yourself to be. You could never be a concept. You could never be an image floating in the mind. You're so much more than that. You are the greater context, the pure, spacious, universal awareness, the absolute supreme reality. Rest. Rest as that. Return. Return to love. I do get into peculiar states of deep absorption into myself, but unpredictably and momentarily. I do not feel myself to be in control of such states. The body is a material thing, and it needs time to change. The mind is but a set of mental habits, of ways of thinking and feeling. And to change, they must be brought to the surface and examined. This also takes time. Just resolve and persevere. The rest will take care of itself. We must examine this mind if we wish to go beyond the mind. We must see it, watch it. Don't obsess over it. It's actually nothing. It's nothing appearing as mind, thought, feeling, sensation, desires, fears, opinions. Just watch it, see it. And in the seeing, in the clear seeing of the mind, you will see that you cannot be the mind, that you must be the seer, the seeing, the perceiving of the mind, the awareing of the mind. Neither subject nor object, but the witnessing itself, the awareness itself. I seem to have a clear idea of what needs to be done, but I find myself getting tired and depressed and seeking human company, and thus wasting time that should be given to solitude and meditation. And this is very nice. I appreciate Nisargadatta saying this. He says, do what you feel like doing. Do what you feel like doing. Follow your heart. Don't bully yourself. Don't tie yourself up in knots and make yourself meditate, You are already that. You are already and always the supreme. So don't force it. Violence will make you hard and rigid. And if you're violent with yourself, if you bully yourself, guess what? You're going to have the tendency then to bully other people and to be violent towards them, to force them. I'm meditating, you should meditate, and you should do this, and you should do that. This is not about shoulds, as far as I can see. This is just about discovering, realizing what is, just noticing what is happening. Just being aware, just being. As Nisargadatta says, the only spiritual goal you have is to be. And guess what? You cannot not be. You eternally are. I am. I am. You cannot stop being. Try to stop being. You can't do it. Being is eternal. Being is the one constant of a lifetime. So don't bully yourself. Have mercy on yourself. Have compassion and loving kindness for yourself. Hold yourself, embrace yourself as if you were your only child. As if you were your only child. Just give yourself love and allow everything that is false and illusory to melt and dissolve in that loving kindness. Do not fight with what you take to be obstacles on your way. Just be interested in them. Watch them. Observe. Inquire. Let anything happen, good or bad. But don't let yourself be submerged by what happens. Don't let yourself be oppressed or taken over by what happens. They're here. Life is pain and pleasure. Pain and pleasure. You can't escape that. Good and bad, pain and pleasure. That's the dualistic reality of this appearance, this three-dimensional physical world. What is the purpose in reminding oneself all the time that one is the watcher? The mind must learn that beyond the moving mind, there is the background of awareness, which does not change. So simple, wonderful pointer. The mind must learn that beyond the moving mind, beyond changing consciousness, there is the background of awareness, which is always present, which does not change. Just like the movie screen does not change. The images on the screen, always changing, constantly changing. And yet the light doesn't change. The screen doesn't change. Who are you? What are you? The mind must come to know the true self and respect it and cease covering it up. Like the moon, which obscures the sun during solar eclipse. Just realize that nothing observable or experienceable is you or binds you. Take no notice of what is not yourself. Why is there this tendency to focus on that which we are not? Why? Why are we perhaps slightly obsessed with the false, with the changeful? Because we find it interesting, we find it entertaining. We'd rather look at the stormy weather and the clouds and the rain and the lightning and the thunder instead of what's beyond the storm, beyond the drama, the pure light of the sun, of Surya, of the ultimate supreme Parabrahman. To do what you tell me, I must be ceaselessly aware. To be aware is to be awake. To be aware is to be awake. I am awake. I am alive. I am aware. I am watching. I am watching life. I am watching consciousness. Unaware means asleep. You are aware anyhow. You need not try to be. You need not try to be. You are aware. From the moment the body wakes up in the morning, there is awareness throughout the day. What you need is to be aware of being aware. Be aware deliberately and consciously. Broaden and deepen the field of awareness. You are always conscious of the mind, but you are not aware of yourself as being conscious. You are not aware of yourself as awareness. Great. What you need is to be aware of being aware. Are you aware right now? Are you aware out there? Are you aware? Yes, awareness is aware. Awareness is always and already aware. Awareness is aware. Beingness is being. Consciousness is conscious. Always and already, awareness is aware. Just rest as that awareness, alert, awake, alive awareness. Be deliberately aware, consciously aware, broaden and deepen the field of awareness. Allow that awareness to supposedly or apparently expand, at least your experience of it. Go deeper and deeper and deeper. Go higher and higher and higher, expanding out so that the entire universe is floating in your awareness. The entire universe is floating in your heart. I am aware. I am aware. As I can make out, you give distinct meanings to the words mind, consciousness, and awareness. Look at it this way. The mind produces thoughts ceaselessly. Even when you do not look at them, the mind, I think the brain, they say, produces 60,000 thoughts a day. 60,000 thoughts a day. It's an image maker. It's a machine producing thoughts all day long. Even if you don't look at them, they're being produced. When you know what is going on in your mind, you call it consciousness. This is your waking state. Your consciousness shifts from sensation to sensation, from perception to perception, from idea to idea, in endless succession. Then comes awareness, the direct insight into the whole of consciousness, the totality of the mind. The mind is like a river, flowing ceaselessly in the bed of the body. You identify yourself for a moment with some particular ripple and call it my thought. All you are conscious of is your mind. Awareness is the cognizance of consciousness as a whole. Awareness is the cognizance of consciousness as a whole. Everybody is conscious, but not everybody is aware. Don't say everybody is conscious. Say there is consciousness in which everything appears and disappears. There is consciousness in which everything appears and disappears. Our minds are just waves on the ocean of consciousness. Our minds are just waves on the ocean of consciousness. As waves, they come and they go. They come and they go. As the ocean, they are infinite and eternal. Know yourself as the ocean of being. Know yourself as the entire ocean of being, vast, broad, and deep. The womb of all existence, the source, the origin, the birthplace. These are all metaphors, of course. The reality is beyond mental concepts and description. You can know it only by being it. To know it, to know reality, is to be reality. Even knowing reality is too dualistic. I know reality. It's not until the I dissolves and disappears that only reality is left, without a person, without a self. As the Buddha said, no self. There is no self. Nisargadatta says, you are not a person. There is no entity. Don't be afraid of that emptiness. You are so much vaster and more than just a small, limited, energetically contracted person. You are the Parabrahman, always, always the Parabrahman, always the Supreme. Is the search for it worth the trouble? Is the search for it worth the trouble? Without it, all is trouble. If you want to live sanely, creatively, and happily, if you want to live sanely, clearly, creatively, intelligently, wisely, lovingly, happily, and have infinite riches to share, search for what you are, find what you are, realize what you are. While the mind is centered in the body and consciousness is centered in the mind, awareness is free. Awareness is free. It is not centered anywhere. It has no center. That's the point. It has no self. It has no center. It's vast and free. The body has its urges, and mind its pains and pleasures. Awareness is unattached and unshaken. Awareness is lucid. Awareness is silent. Awareness is peaceful, alert, and unafraid, without any desire or fear whatsoever. Meditate on awareness as your true being, and try to be awareness in your daily life, and you shall realize it in its fullness. Meditate on awareness as your true being. Try to be awareness in your daily life, and you shall realize it in its fullness. Mind is interested in what happens, while awareness is interested in the mind itself. The child is after the toy, but the mother watches the child, not the toy. By looking tirelessly, I became quite empty. And with that emptiness, all came back to me, except the mind. I find I have lost the mind irretrievably. I find I have lost the mind irretrievably. By looking tirelessly for 3 years, Nisargadatta Maharaj looked and looked. His guru said, Nisargadatta, he didn't call him that, but he said, you are not what you think yourself to be. You are not what you imagine yourself to be. You are neither perceivable nor conceivable, but that which makes all perception possible. And I believed my guru, and I looked, and I focused on the I am, presence, awareness. For 3 years, by looking tirelessly, I became quite empty. I became quite empty. And with that emptiness, all came back to me, except the mind. The mind did not come back. The ego, the person, the small self did not come back. Just like a piece of fruit, when it ripens, it falls off the tree, never to return to the tree again. This is why nirvana is defined as cessation or extinction. It is the end. Advaita Vedanta. Advaita not two. Vedanta, end of knowledge, end of mind, end of a seeker going after and trying to acquire a bunch of things, a bunch of knowledge, a bunch of experiences. It's not about spiritual experiences. It's not about spiritual knowledge per se. They may or may not happen. They may or may not appear to be helpful upon the path. But ultimately, it is, as Nisargadatta says, it's about becoming what you are, which is that vast, dark, silent emptiness. The void, the Parabrahman, prior and beyond awareness and consciousness, being and non-being, beyond all concepts, all descriptions. There's nothing there, nothing there. And you, as the person, you can never go there. It's impossible. It's impossible for the imagined self, which isn't real, to go there. It is only when this mind dissolves in love, dissolves in awareness and emptiness, when this energetic contraction of oneness just, that it is seen that all there ever was the Parabrahman. All there ever was being. There was only the illusion of meing. Meing and being. By looking tirelessly at my mind, by looking tirelessly at my 5 senses and the information that they were retrieving, by looking tirelessly at the consciousness and the false self, by becoming aware and aware, by broadening and deepening my field of awareness, I became quite empty, quite empty. And with that emptiness, all came back to me that I needed, except the mind. I only lost what I was not. I find I have lost the mind irretrievably. It is obsolete, extinct. Just like that mango ripening and falling from the tree, never to return to the branch again. Finished. It is finished. It is finished, like Jesus said on the cross. It is finished. It is finished. And this video is finished. Thank you, Nisargadatta Maharaj. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you again for another chapter of I Am That. Namaste. Oh, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.